Welcome back to County Connection. For this next segment, we're going to be talking about childcare and early childhood education. And here to enlighten us on this great topic is Lucinda Burns from Early Childhood Options and Greta Shackelford, did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
The director of Little Red Schoolhouse. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so affordable childcare is a big issue here in Summit County, and for local working families, it's probably one of the biggest challenges for a lot of folks. And so let's start this conversation by kind of defining what we mean by early care and education.
So childcare, preschool, going into kindergarten, that's generally what we think. There's also other things that are included with early childhood education: home visitation, early intervention, and general promotion of healthy lifestyles, starting with the early ages.
Great. So, so we know that early care and education is so important for individual children as well as their families, as well as the community at large. So let's talk a little bit about what we know about the benefits of having quality childcare and education.
Sure. I don't know if everybody quite realizes what's going on with young children before the age of 5. There's so much growth in their brains. Literally, there are about 700 synapses get connected in the brains every few minutes in for young children. It's an extraordinary time. Intelligence, we often think of early childhood education as learning how to read and write, and those things are really important, but if that doesn't go, that has to go along with developing social and emotional skills.
Okay.
When those two things are combined, children are really set up for success later in life, and that's why those years are so critical.
And so I think the term you used was quality childcare and education. So what do we mean by that?
Sure. Well, in quality, a couple things, and I think Greta can add to this, but there are two really critical pieces of quality, and that's the people that are working with young children need to be well trained and well compensated. Those teachers are so important to our whole system. I think also having safe and nurturing environments, both at the home and in early childhood settings, are really critical to their success. I think people don't necessarily realize that in Summit County we have the lowest unemployment rate in the nation.
Wow.
So that means most families in Summit County are working, most parents are working. When parents are working, children need to be somewhere. It's so important that they're in those quality environments with well-paid, well-trained teachers.
Yeah, I would only add that the retention of the staff is highly important. They're well paid, and then they stay, and the children have that relationship with the staff that care for them to build on the education. If they're continually, daily or monthly changing teachers, then they're starting over with building that relationship rather than learning new materials.
And I think that speaks to really one of the big challenges in Summit County that's kind of linked up with a lot of other challenges that we face. Talk about some of the kind of the challenging dynamics that we face here. And I think also it kind of gets to, Lucinda, what you were talking about of our lowest unemployment rate in the nation.
Well, we have a transient workforce. Any employer deals with that. So the families are dealing with the cost. That's one of the huge challenges facing our industry. You add housing and healthcare in Summit County, and that's part of what makes it transient, I believe, is that people just can't afford to stay. So for families that are trying to make it work and trying to hold a job and have childcare, they're also intertwined. And if one of those things doesn't go right, then the whole family dynamic falls apart. So affording childcare is a huge piece, huge challenge.
It's a little bit of a catch-22. We know in order to really improve the experiences for children so they do well in life, we need to have well-paid and well-trained teachers. We can't pay teachers if we can't afford the cost of care.
Right.
So that makes it such it's just a double-edged sword unless we have some other kinds of support in the community to help with that. We often talk about the trifecta of costs for families in Summit County: health care, housing, child care.
Right.
all three of those things are issues that are so critical to our local working economy.
Right. And then that trifecta kind of impacts the families who are looking for childcare, but it also impacts the staff at our early learning centers, right?
Exactly.
And so talk a little bit about how you see that dynamic playing out in the centers throughout the county.
Well, I think we've tried to do a couple of things. The town of Breckenridge has really tried to help families work with affording childcare. As a result, that helps make the childcare businesses in Breckenridge a little more stable so they can retain well-qualified staff. That's a start.
Yep, there's the Right Start Project, which is run through Early Childhood Options, and they support a whole bunch of things throughout the county, early childhood related and beyond. They have financial assistance for low-income families. They give a lot of the centers quality improvement funds for building and facility needs, training for teachers, outreach for families. They serve about 1,000 children a year with those funds in 17 centers, I believe. So there's resources out there for the centers and families.
And how did the Right Start program come about?
Well, let's see. The Right Start program has been around since 2006. It's supported by voters. It's a taxpayer-supported initiative. It really came about because local working families in Summit County said, we need childcare. When they were calling into work and saying, I can't come into work today because I can't find childcare, employers, community members grew very concerned.
Right.
And understandably so. We have a great track history in Summit County of really working together to solve problems like these, and that's what happened with the Right Start initiative. A lot of people came together to try to figure that out. We are so fortunate to have some strong leaders in our community that support that, and we have work to do, but it's a good start.
Great. So what else do we have going on right now to address the challenges and kind of enhance our support for childcare and early education?
Sure. We work so closely with Summit School District on trying to figure out how to create greater access for more families to quality early childhood experiences. It's interesting, kindergarten teachers in Summit County notice a difference between children who have been to a good preschool program and children who have not been to a good preschool program. We don't really want to create that learning gap before children even reach the age of 5. We can do better. And so I think we're all coming together to try to figure out a way to do better for those children, particularly to create access for children who might not have access they might not qualify because of their income, or they might not, there might be a language barrier. We really want to break those barriers down so that the quality childcare is available for all children.
Right. And I know that there is a great meeting of the minds to make sure that we're doing that and kind of achieving those goals that you're talking about in the most strategic and efficient fashion. So what are these conversations and what's kind of taking place to make sure that we're putting all our resources in the right places?
Right. I think there are 2 or 3 things going on at one time. One is we really are taking a careful look at how to increase salaries for teachers and really retain those highly qualified teachers. I'm not sure exactly what that will look like, but we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what our best community-wide strategy is to retain teachers. So that's an important one. We are working with some other organizations outside of Summit County to help us think that through, and we're really excited about that.
Working to make sure we have enough capacity for children that aren't in those centers yet and need to get into those centers. So analyzing where we're at right now, and if build-out happens, where we're going to end up in 5-10 years, what steps we need to take to make sure capacity is met.
Yeah, we have a couple of needs assessments going on right now, really looking at all over the county, but we know that there are a couple of gaps, particularly in the north end of the county around capacity.
Okay, great. So let's see, anything that people should be on the lookout on the horizon in terms of kind of where you're headed?
Well, the capacity issue is one. I think we're very interested in figuring out how we can make preschool available to all 4-year-olds and not just those who are eligible for certain programs. I think we could be on the lookout for that. We can certainly be on the lookout for more support for teacher education and recruitment and retention.
All right.
We're excited about that. I think you know, it's just so important to remember that early care and education is really about investing in our community. When children do well, our employers have employees, and that's very important. When families are successful, they're better able to support their children and do their most important job of being a parent.
Right.
So really, those community investments are just going to be something that we want to continue to support in Summit County.
Right. It's as much an economic issue as it is a social issue.
Absolutely is.
And I think sometimes people don't realize how much it affects our workforce if there's not accessible good care for children. Parents aren't at work, and the large corporations or businesses in towns don't understand that sometimes, that if there's nowhere for their kids to go, the parents don't show up for work.
Right.
So making sure that we all understand that.
There's a lot of great research out there that says for every $1 you invest in early childhood, you get a return of about $8 or $9.
Wow.
It sort of depends on which study you're looking at, but that's still a good return. For anybody who's an investor, I think they'd be pretty happy with that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, great. So for any folks out there who are interested in learning more about what's going on in this field, or are interested in just kind of understanding better what resources are available maybe for their own family, where can they go to get that info?
Well, they can certainly contact Early Childhood Options. We are a local hub for early childhood services, and we can direct people wherever they need to be depending on what questions they have, but that would be at www.earlychildhoodoptions.org.
Outstanding. All right. Well, Lucinda and Greta, thanks so much for coming into the SCTV studio, and good luck with all of the awesome work that you're doing.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about some exciting developments in public transit in Summit County.